Welcome back, Stasa23 here, back again with some knife therapy, and today I have for you the Tactile Knife Company Rockwall Flipper. This knife comes in at $299, and this is a totally USA made knife, made in the big state of Texas. Tactile Turn is how they got their start, and they produced EDC pens, very, very nice EDC pens, known for their very fine milling on the pens that just gave you nice grip, and it's just aesthetically pleasing to most people. And a lot of people got excited whenever they announced that they were going to be designing a knife. Now, they're a small batch company at this time. I don't know if they're going to try to expand their facilities, machine shop, to be able to produce more, but there's a waiting list. You just check their site to try to get up on the site to get the knife. They also have a slip joint that I checked out at Blade Show. It was pretty cool. It just wasn't for me, and I was lucky. I picked this up from a subscriber who knew that I would like to check it out, so I decided to pick it up from him. So, get a couple of specs out of the way. You have a total length of 7 inches, so it's in that medium to smaller range. You have a blade length of 2.84 inches, so it's going to be legal in a lot of areas with 3-inch and under blade restrictions. And a grip area from right here to the back of the knife of 3.5 inches. So if you have large or extra large hands, this knife might not be for you. I just get a 4-finger grip on there. Got a little bit to spare. Just something to note before picking the knife up. But before we go any further, let's do a little cutting with this knife and see how well it performs. All right, we're going to cut up some cardboard with the factory edge. Oh, came pretty darn sharp. Alrighty, ooh, nice and hot. It sliced very well, especially with that thin blade stock, and it was pretty darn sharp out the box. Let's see. It might have a few little hang-ups. Let me make sure it's not dirty. Have some minor hang-ups. Or I might have some gunk on the blade. Alright, we're going to attempt to cut some of this 1/2-inch twisted scissor style rope. We're going to try it for 20 cuts. May do more, may do less. All right, this did probably the best of all the knives I've been testing today. That's why I love the thin blade stock. The geometry on that cutting edge just lets it glide through there. Let me try that again. Back out some. Let's see. Okay, yeah. I just was trying to keep it underneath the camera, tilting the paper. Oh, it might have a small little hang up here. Yeah, right up in here, it's not as sharp as it was when I got it, but still sharp. Alright, we're going to test the ergos and how well the edge is still biting in this pine 2x4. We're going to start out making light cuts, increasing the strength more and more. Alrighty, I ended it off with the hard pressure cut. You can see how much it dug into it. Started out thinner, and it made some thin curls. The wood was a little cockeyed, but that's not the whole point. Was to check the edge, how it was biting. It was biting nicely, and the only issue is more and more I increased the power behind the cut. This thin handle I was only able to control it by holding it in the saber grip, and then when I did that, this back end of this clip was digging into my hand right there. So for extended periods, it would not be the most comfortable to do something like that, or putting a lot of force behind your cuts. But general day-to-day EDC task, it'd be just fine. It's got some minor hang-ups. I was kind of surprised about that. This is a factory edge right there. All right, we're going to cut up several different types of material. We're going to start with this seatbelt material, and then I'll put the name of the rest on the screen. All right, it did excellent in some materials, like the blue jean material. It did awesome. This tubing, it did great, and a lot has to do with that thin blade stock. Let's see, the edge had a few little hang-ups before this. Yeah, it's still sharp. Just has some very minor catches, like right there, right there. You know, you can feel it skipping, but, you know, working edge is very good still. Alrighty, I hope y'all enjoyed that. I enjoyed making it for y'all. Let's take a closer look at this. You have this nice drop point, just a classic drop point blade right here with a stone wash finish. It's kind of hard to show the stone wash, but if you look, let's see, can you see that? Let's see right there. You can see the fine, there's some really fine milling lines on the knife right there. You can see them. So they left the fine milling lines there, and you can see the stone wash better on the flats. The knife came extremely sharp. Blade steel is CTS XHP, Rockwall at 60 to 61, so that's very good for XHP. And XHP can be a very, very good performer. I like it. It's a stainless kind of D2, but in my opinion, it's better. You'd have to use it to understand. On this side, you have the tactile, and on this side, you have the tactile. I'm not sure why they put it on both sides, but it's there, and it's pretty deep in there, so just nicely done there. You have some fine jimping here. Let's see. Yeah, fine jimping here. That's kind of rounded over on the top. So it gives you some traction, but I call it medium traction. It's definitely not like grabbing the thumb really hard or anything, which is fine with me. You have a pretty dainty point. You're just not going to want to do any kind of, you know, tip work, you know, trying to bore a hole or something with this tip. You got a nice little top swedge up there that thins out that tip. There you can see that milling there. You do have a sharpening tool that, yeah, just barely clears that plunge. Close it up. The action on this thing is very snappy. I know the first few that came out, I've heard reviewers say that the D10 was a little bit soft. Not anymore. Got a nice rounded flipper tab. with some good jimping on there. And this thing comes out with authority. Nice action. It's riding on bearings. It's got good action. It's a somewhat of a fall shut knife. You gotta shake it up once you clear that detent. Shake it a little bit, but that's mainly because the blade stock on this is nice and thin. I don't have my caliper's battery went out, so I couldn't measure that. But very thin blade stock, ground decently thin. I mean, it's not the thinnest ground knife I own, but it's pretty good. You can kind of see right there how the thickness on that. I don't know if it showed up, but it sliced outstanding, especially in the very beginning. Whenever I first started cutting with it, it was just blasting through the cardboard like nobody's business. And it's going to be those type of tasks that I would say this knife's going to excel in. Cardboard cutting, rope cutting, things like that aren't going to require you to put a whole bunch of force into a cut. And we'll talk about that in a second. Close it up to the scales. And now this is what I was excited to check out, because this is that same milling pattern I was talking about that's on their titanium and copper and brass pins. It's just stunning. It really plays well on the light. When you got bright lights, it just gives you a cool effect. Also gives you a little bit of traction. It's not slippery. And I like how you can see it on the edges right here. Just looks nice. The blade looks like, I can't really tell. It looks like it's perfectly center. It might be to the right a hair, but I did do a good bit of testing with it, so I don't know. You have a somewhat decorative pivot with these circles going around. Looks nice. And look how crisp that Torx T8 pivot is. Very, very nice. Love seeing that. And then check these T8s. That is very nice. Nice and deep there. Awesome to see that kind of hardware. And I'm pretty sure they're producing that in-house. Let's see if I can show y'all. You got some nice milling up top. I hope it's coming through in the camera. None on the bottom. Well, yeah, you do have some in the back side of the bottom right. And then you have a liner lock that is engaged, I'd say around 50 to 60%. Absolutely no play in any direction whatsoever. Access to that lock bar is pretty good. It's not hard to get in there, and it's not a ton of tension. You do have some jimping right here, and it does sit pretty flush with the show side scale, but they have a nice cutout right here on the show side that allows me to get my thumb in there pretty easily. Close it back up. You have a deep carry pocket clip that is tipped down. I don't know if this was left or I think it's just right hand only. All right, let's check it out in the pocket real quick. It goes in okay, depending on the thickness of your jeans. These jeans aren't super thick, so it goes in just fine on these. And it really hugs the side of the pants really well. You can get your hand in there. That flipper tab, I didn't notice it when it was in my pocket. I carried other things in the pocket with it just to see. It holds it fairly well because you do have that micro milling underneath that clip, but this milling is not super aggressive, so it shouldn't shred your pockets any faster than a normal clip would. I don't love the placement. I know I talked about that already. I really wish they would have, scooted it down to the middle section. It would have been perfect. I like the fact, though, that they just kicked it up right here and they didn't kick it up in that way. Those usually are not the best clips. This one has enough ramp to where it hits the seam of the pocket and goes in just fine. Here, titanium backspacer. That's nicely done. Matches that pocket clip perfectly. All right, let's do a quick weight on this knife, and then we'll do some size comparisons. 74 grams or 2.61 ounces. So this thing's a super featherweight. I don't notice it in the pocket for sure. And some quick size comparisons. These are two knives that I had that were very close to the size. You got the Real Steel Compact Metamorph. Pretty darn similar in overall dimensions. The thinness and the thickness, except the flipper tab gives you less grip area on the on the Tactile knife Rockwall, and almost identical, if not identical, to the Ontario Rat Model 2. So those two are excellent size comparisons. And two more knives just in case you don't have either one of those. Here it is by the Benchmade Bug Out. The Bug Out's a little bit longer, and it's pretty close to the size of a Para 3 as well. Para 3 is a little bit longer. So there you go. The Ergonomics. Okay. Like I said, doing the cardboard cutting, it was just fine. It went through the cardboard so effortlessly. I did not feel any hot spots because you got some nice rounded corners here, nice and soft. The only issue that I was afraid of was how high they put this pocket clip and the edge of this pocket clip digging into my hands, because just in initial impressions, holding this knife right here, I feel it and it's kind of uncomfortable. I wish they would have put it perfectly in the middle. I think it would have been a lot better choice, but I don't know if they plan on changing that or not. I don't really know why they did it right here. I'm sure there's got to be some reason for that. I'm guessing that this screw, yeah, that's what it is. This screw right here is probably that's probably what's holding this clip in. So I guess I understand. But they could have tapped into the titanium as well. So I don't know. But I did not notice it, or I was able to avoid it by just changing my grip up for the most part. Now, of course, whenever I started doing the wood shaving, that's whenever I definitely felt this back side of this clip. I'm pretty sure I showed it in the video. It left a pretty nice indentation in my hand and was starting to aggravate me pretty bad. But this is, I don't think that's the intended purpose of this knife. So other than that, I'm glad that we have another USA company producing in-house stuff. It's awesome. As a pride of ownership in knives like this. The edge on my particular knife held up, I'm going to just say okay, because let's see, I stropped it up after all the cutting, and let's see what it's like right now. This is all I have, just a regular piece of loose leaf. See, it's not terrible. It's got some hang-ups like right there, and I think some in that front area, but I don't know. It's also hasn't been sharpened yet, so I think it'll get better after the first sharpening for sure. Other than that, I understand $300 is expensive for a folding knife, but like I said, totally made in the U.S., small batch company. That's pretty much what the going rate is for these. Just like Quiet Carry. The Quiet Carry Waypoint, somewhat similar, but not a flipper, and it's a bigger knife. That knife is expensive as well, and that one's not made in the U.S. So, to each their own. However you feel about the knife. There's definitely room for improvement, but I think as their first knife out of the gate, I think it's pretty well done. And the guys were super nice over at Blade Show, too. So, there you go. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I hope everybody's having an absolute wonderful day. and I will see y'all on the next one. Peace.